Okay. 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 Just going to share. Image screen sharing. Okay. I am. I'm screen sharing. I just found out what I wanted to do. I'm gonna go play AJ. Do some bad things. Just kidding, not bad things. Even the free LJ background, make sure it's glitched out. Then you can use the background. Share videos. I'm just crazy. Elephant in it. What? It's not animal. By the way, on my laptop, because my Windows 10 computer is broken. Because every time I try to open something, like it doesn't open, it just makes that sound like ding. And only my folders like open. And which I can join the club. I have a lot of gems. Let me go. Then 13,000 gems. You guys probably do not like my didn't. When Oh, that's not close to him. But cheese hats. Pie. Pink pie. Another pie. Is there a pink one? There it is. Kawaii. Penguin? Penguin. Kawaii. It better be a pink one. That's pink. Kawaii. 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 Hmm. Mhm. Okay. Hmm. Nothing so much. Go. Hmm. Hmm. Go. Hmm. Fake. Show me who you are. What is this?
People helped me when I was in need, so I know if everybody can do something small, they can make just a world of difference.
Purchase participating items at Walmart to help secure a meal for someone in need.
While most of us try and be good law-abiding citizens most of the time, we can be breaking the law without even knowing it. Yes, you can technically call yourself a small-time criminal if you have ever been involved in any of these illegal activities. Using a fake name online. So you're filling out an online registration form and you enter a fake name that makes you chuckle, like Seymour Butts or Megan Cox, and you don't really think much of it. After all, why should you give your real name to every single site you register with? But did you know that entering a fake name can get you arrested and charged with hacking? The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act states that when you give a false name, you are gaining access to a website in a way that its owner didn't authorize. In other words, you are claiming to be someone you are not to try and access a page, which constitutes hacking and could land you in prison for 5 to 20 years. Connecting to public Wi-Fi. You're out in public, desperately need to go online, and your smartphone locates an open network nearby. Your prayers have been answered. But we are here to tell you that Wi-Fi squatting is in fact illegal as per the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which states that it is illegal to access someone's connection without their authorization. Makes sense, considering you're freely using a service that someone else is paying for. Several years ago in the United States, a man was arrested and fined $400 for regularly parking outside a cafe with his open laptop and tapping into their Wi-Fi connection. Laws on public Wi-Fi have become somewhat lenient, but according to many lawyers, the lines are still blurry. Littering. You might casually toss that empty wrapper on the ground without thinking much of it, but watch out, you litter bugs, because in many North American cities, littering is a criminal offense. In California, for example, the punishment for a first-time litterer begins with a $100 fine and 8 hours of picking up roadside litter. In Washington state, throwing a lit cigarette on the ground is considered a Class B misdemeanor, with a fine of up to $2,500 and 5 years in prison. Throwing trash in water, on highways, and on properties is considered a Class A misdemeanor and carries a maximum fine of $6,250 and 10 years in prison. Betting with friends. Ever wanted to make a $2,000 bet with some of your friends? In case the thought ever crossed your mind, beware. Did you know that it is illegal to bet $2,000 in one day within a group of 5 or more people? If you get caught, you're headed to the big house for up to 10 years. Who knew that a friendly bet could ruin your life? And if you think they take this all lightly, you are wrong. In 2005, a man named Sal Pelosi was overheard betting the forbidden amount amongst friends in a Virginia bar. The person who overheard this just happened to be an undercover cop. and the next day an entire SWAT team showed up at his doorstep and accidentally shot him to death. Cursing. If the F-bomb is irregular in your vocabulary, you might want to watch that potty mouth. In many U.S. states, people have been arrested for using curse words in public.
Hey, I don't know who's arrested for using curse words in public, but I don't know, Cindy. I'll see.
Kids' books are meant to teach our children life lessons and turn them into well-rounded adults. However, these books will traumatize your child instead. Polly Paints a Penis. Perhaps this book is intended to be used as a segue into why we don't draw inappropriate pictures at school or dealing with phallic as an object. Whatever the case may be, it might not be best to introduce young children to genital images before they're ready. Please don't touch my tomato. There is no doubt that childhood sex education is an important topic that has to be handled carefully. This book does none of that, as it makes genitalia synonymous with fruits and vegetables, and healthy food is encouraged to be shared and touched. Who cares about the elderly? This book starts off about the negative aspects about elderly people and eventually transitions to talking about friendships with the elderly and how they're contributing members of society. However, most kids should be raised to value the elderly, and the topic of the book indicates that there are other ways to feel about grandma and grandpa, which might not end up being good things. The subtitle on the book states that it's for children who are scared to use the potty. Granted, this means two different things when it comes to pain or fear. Also, is the dinosaur the little boy is holding real, or is it a stuffed animal? Essentially, the book is about the body's digestive system and how some foods we eat make it hurt to poop, also known as constipation. My first cavity search. Speaking of touching tomatoes, this book claims to be a whimsical look at cavity searches. There are no reviews of the book, and it seems that all parents are staying away. From the previews of the book, it's meant to be read at around the first or second grade level. A bit young to be considered a threat to national security, isn't it? Don't make me go back, Mommy. This book may as well go into the category of trying to scare your children away from ever going to daycare. 5-year-old Allison is the protagonist of this book, whose behavior changes after attending a daycare, and it's discovered that the daycare is engaging in satanic rituals that put the kids through all sorts of abuse. This might not be the best book if you're trying to help your child cope with past abuse. The Gas We Pass. This story was likely an attempt to capitalize on the success of books like Everybody Poops, but failed to measure up. From Japan, this book doesn't quite hit the mark and flopped rather quickly, as it wasn't an effective way to explain gas to kids. Usually, gas can be explained in a few sentences. It doesn't need an entire book to What's going on? You gotta shut it down.
Oh my god.
I want to go viral.
Going viral? Get scrubbing bubbles. Clean and disinfect.
20,000 views. What? Oh, it looks so clean in here. Children and toddlers getting dressed up and dancing around sounds like a fun time, doesn't it? When you put it in the context of a child pageant, however, research shows that most people actually get uncomfortable with the idea. While it's okay for adults to take part, replacing them with kids and the whole situation becomes too disturbing for most. Miss Glitz Sparkle. This competition sees children as young as 2 years old get covered in spray tan, hair extensions, and makeup. They dance around in dresses and even have a swimwear competition segment for all ages. Needless to say, there are fierce critics who say that it's disturbing because it sexualizes extremely young girls. To be honest, most people can't get past the fake teeth that the girls wear. Little Miss Bikini. There isn't really any one Little Miss Bikini competition, but the event seems to happen anywhere across the globe where regular pageants are held. Dating back as much as 40 years, it's apparently been common to get groups of children as young as 2 years old together and judge who looks best in a bikini. Whether a bikini or child swimwear competition, the image of little kids parading around and being judged in front of strangers is a bit too disturbing for most people. Miss Tanguita. We'll just get to the point here and tell you that Miss Tanguita translates to Miss Tiny Thong. This Colombian beauty pageant is for 6 to 10-year-olds and takes place in the city of Barbosa. During the competition, these girls strut up and down the catwalk wearing a variety of bikinis. With dance music blasting in the background, the girls are encouraged to strut in the same fashion as adult models. Miss Comaba High School.
It's not necessarily disturbing that an all-boy high school in Japan has a beauty pageant. Some, however, find it very bizarre that every year the boys dress up as girls and take part in a pageant where they are judged on their looks and attitude. No, this isn't a transgender contest, and it's not meant as a joke by the school either. It's all a part of what is known as Culture Day, and is taken very seriously by the students. Toddlers in Tiaras. Alright, so Toddlers in Tiaras isn't an official pageant, but while the show was on air, it became its own kind of pageant as millions tuned in to be shocked by the train wreck unfolding on their television. The TLC show brought the insanity of the pageant circuit into our living rooms and left people floored as to what happens at such events. From over-the-top parents to 4-year-olds dressed up as Dolly Parton, complete with fake breasts and padded bottoms, this show demonstrated the disturbing nature of child pageantry. Flinging Up Baby. Not to be outdone, the UK had its own television version of all of the pageantry fun with Flinging Up Baby. Another television show, it effectively became its own pageant, which allowed millions to tune in and follow the progress of various contestants. From spray tans to gaudy jewelry and outfits, this over-the-top show shocked a lot of people who thought pageants were just straight-up beauty contests. After all, where else can you see a 4-year-old dance around provocatively in a Hooters waitress outfit? Classy. Well, that horror show is over. Here's a couple other videos we think you might enjoy, and please don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.
People helped me when I was in need, so I know if everybody can do something small, they can make just a world of difference.
Purchase participating items at Walmart to help secure a meal for someone in need.
As the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat, and we all get curious once in a while, and we get on Google to search for something completely disgusting. Nikki Katsouris. In 2006, in Lake Forest, California, 18-year-old Nikki Katsouris died a horrid death while driving her father's Porsche when she lost control of the vehicle and ran into a light pole. Her body was so mangled that her family weren't required to identify her body at the coroner. The California Highway Patrol took photos per their protocol anyway, but then 2 officers leaked the photos when they emailed them to their friends. Despite the family's best efforts, the photos still exist online with a simple Google search. Brian Peppers. Brian Peppers is a registered sex offender in the state of Ohio, but his mugshot went viral on the internet. Peppers seems to suffer from a deformity or congenital disorder that leads to a deformity of the skull. Given his crimes and his current appearance, this position is overall just really creepy and won't Being a student means that your time is dedicated to classes, studying, and homework, and because of that, there's not a lot of time for a real full-time job. From the limited availability has come the desperation of taking almost any job that comes students' way, no matter how weird it is. Here are some of the weirdest student jobs. Bone counter. If you have a strong stomach and don't mind seeing mutilated limbs, you can be a bone counter. There are companies that are in need of people to work in their shipping and receiving departments, and it requires dealing with cadaver bones. Sometimes the bones are frozen or poorly butchered, meaning that they still have some human flesh on them. Bone counters are responsible for cleaning, chopping, and prepping the bones to be sent out to hospitals for transplant purposes. Professional scarecrow. For an average of $15 an hour, you can help farmers keep the birds and other creatures out of their crops. While scarecrows are still being used, it's more effective to have someone sitting in the middle of the crops, shooing away birds by waving their arms and making random noises meant to incite fear in the critter kingdom. You probably don't need to wear a scarecrow costume if that helps. Art model. If you're a young college student strapped for money, then you might want to consider taking off your clothes. No, this isn't stripping per se, but you'd be helping your fellow art students learn how to draw human anatomy. Art modeling is kind of weird in the fact that you're the center of attention for a large amount of time while several people stare at you, and it can get even more interesting if you choose to bear all for the budding artist. Nude models definitely get paid way more. Beer auditor. This might seem like a dream job for a student, and the premise of the job is similar to mystery shopping, but for beer. It takes about 15 minutes, and your job is to make sure the cashier is doing their job and selling you the alcohol in accordance with state law. You might pretend to forget your ID in the car to see if the store will sell you the beer, or you'll check to make sure they put your proper birthday in the computer and more. You'll need to write detailed reports of your visit and initially pay up front for the beer until you're reimbursed. But you'll end up with free beer and cash in your pocket. Wrecked car washer. There's your conventional job of washing cars that are beautiful and not totaled, but then there's another game of washing cars that are totally wrecked. Even in the auctions for totaled cars, in order to get their parts, wash-wrecked cars are able to bring companies more money. So they will pay people to spend their time making these wrecked beauties shiny and new looking.
Well,
Meet the Marshall girls, the family who had more boob jobs than any other in Britain. Mum Chantal and 4 of her daughters are all swelling with pride after a series of breast implants, and now they want youngest sister Brittany to go out the night. The only female in the family with natural boobs is Brittany, but Chantal is already encouraging her to go for an enlargement operation. But Brittany Marshall decided not to follow in the footsteps of her mother and 4 older siblings. Unlike the other ladies, she is refusing to get breast implants. The Marshall women have spent a total of £50,000 on silicone breasts. The Duggars family, who became famous on the TLC network show 19 Kids and Counting. The show featured the Duggar family, parents Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar and their 19 children, 9 girls and 10 boys, all of whose names begin with the letter J. The family is known for its strict adherence to the Baptist faith and conservative values, which include restrictions against any birth control methods. On May 22, 2016, TLC suspended the series when the Duggars' eldest son, Josh, publicly apologized for having acted inexcusably following reports that he molested 5 girls, including some of his sisters, by fondling them. This announcement was made the same day Josh's wife Anna gave birth to their 4th child, Meredith Grace. It's the story that has gone viral on the internet, the tale of a...
You both have a perfect driving record.
Until one of you quits the food truck.
Then your rates go through the roof. Perfect.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
One of the best days of school was show and tell. We got to bring in our favorite things from our lives and share them with our friends in the class. Just as we're all different and creative, so can our show and tell items be. Here are the craziest things kids have brought to show and tell. Crack pipe. In Sweet Springs, Missouri, a kindergartner was told to bring an important family item to show and tell. So he brought his mother's crack pipe as well as several baggies of cracked rocks, according to his teacher. The show and tell item prompted a call to the cops, who tested the rocks, which were positive for meth. The house of the student was searched and more drugs were found, as well as another crack pipe. The 32-year-old mother of the student was arrested, and the kindergartner was sent to stay with family members for a while. Fertilized eggs. A Reddit user by the name of Autogenic told the story about how one of their Vietnamese students brought in fertilized chicken eggs to share with the rest of the class. The assignment was to bring in a food item from their respective cultures, and the teacher and the student cracked them open to show the class, where one student fainted and 3 started crying. Tampon. A Reddit user by the name of Never Is Not Drunk admitted to bringing in Mummy's penis to show and tell, which ended up being a bloody used tampon. The user also confessed that he wasn't sure who the used tampon belonged to, as he lived with his sister, father, and grandmother. Human brain. One 6th grade student got the luck of the draw when a teacher assigned a project having to do with neurology and the human brain. The student had neurologists for neighbors who volunteered the class in a heavy-duty Ziploc bag. Once the students and staff got over the initial shock, the teacher allowed the students to poke the brain through the plastic. Dead cat. A woman by the name of Lana Hershowitz talked about how she had a friend who was a teacher and shared the story of how one kid brought in the family cat that had died and was buried in the backyard. The kid had dug up the body of the dead cat and stuffed it into the bottom of his school bag for show and tell. Grandpa. One third-grade student brought in her grandpa for show and tell, but the special thing about her grandpa was that he was a beekeeper who showed up to class fully decked out in his beekeeper outfit and walked on stilts. If that wasn't enough, Grandpa also sprayed the kids with smoke with the same substance he used to calm down bees. Umbilical cord. The wonders of birth are truly a mystery. One of the grosser parts of birth is umbilical cords that stays attached to the baby's belly button after birth for about a week before it falls off. One girl thought that the fallen off portion was cool enough to bring to her class as show and tell. The grosser part of this too was that the small portion was also passed around the class for further inspection. Vibrate stick. A Reddit user by the name of Duto talked about his first grade experience of how one of his fellow students brought in his mother's vibrate stick. A perfect example of the innocence of children probably had them more fascinated and the teacher looking horrified. Duto said that it wasn't until they were older when they realized that it was their mother's vibrator. Dog poop. A 6-year-old boy thought it would be appropriate to bring in a piece of dog poop to show the class. Of course, everybody pooped, so what was so special about this one? Apparently Fido had eaten some of the family dinner, which included carrots, and the piece of feces brought to class had a carrot in it. Hopefully the teacher used it as a learning opportunity about the digestive system. Glass eye. One Reddit user by the name of Kiki0223 shared a story from their kindergarten or first grade show and tell experience where a fellow student popped their glass eye out of their head to show the entire class. Perhaps the student forgot their actual show and tell project and just improvised. So what's the weirdest thing you ever brought to show and tell? Let us know about it in the comments. And meanwhile, while you're here, check these videos out. And don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thanks.
Throughout our childhood, we've always been told that drugs are bad and that we need to stay away from them. We usually only know about mainstream drugs like meth, cocaine, and crack, but there are many more drugs that we don't know
You both have a perfect driving record.
until one of you puts a food truck.
Then your rates go through the roof. Perfect.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise your rates due to your first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
What gets you going when you need some motivation? Whether normal things turn you on or something off the wall, there's a place for you in this world. Here are some of the most bizarre fetishes that have graced the public. Balloon fetish. Yes, you read that right. The colorful and playful balloons that you use to decorate can be quite sexy to certain people. On the show My Strange Addiction, a 62-year-old man named Julius admitted that he was sexually attracted to balloons. He even noted that most balloons inflate to 12 inches, but he inflates his to 11 inches and noted that the balloons can take more abuse that way. Julius has over 50,000 different balloons in his possession. Dendrophilia. Dendrophilia is a truly bizarre fetish where a person is sexually attracted to trees and plants. There have been people who have been arrested for trying to have sex with trees, which usually led them to being barred from the public state parks in their neighborhood. Someone who is into dendrophilia might enjoy the scene out of Wizard of Oz when the talking trees are growing apples. Infantilism. While this fetish is often teased in movies and television shows, it is a very real fetish where a person gets sexual pleasure dressing as an infant. So if you're into that, all you need to do is find someone who is a dominant motherly figure who might enjoy changing a diaper or two. Zoophilia. Zoophilia is a sexual attraction to animals, and bestiality is often considered to be the act that follows zoophilia. The women you see in the infamous donkey shows in foreign countries often have a hint of zoophilia if they enjoy their job. Woolies. The name says exactly what these people are. They are sexually aroused by wool. Yes, we're talking about those itchy sweaters, what covers sheep, whatever comes to mind when you think of wool. The warm fabric seems to be not only popular as a fashion item, but also as a pleasurable one. Agalmatophilia. Gametophilia is a condition where a person gets sexual pleasure from immobile objects, such as statues and mannequins. As freaky as those figures can look sometimes, it is odd to think about a person who gets off on those haunting faces. Plushophilia. Plushophilia is where a person has a sexual interest in teddy bears, or having a sexual romantic attraction to stuffed animals. People who have this fetish are also known as plushies, and are known to be hoarders. So if you visit the home of your date down the line, and they have a lot of stuffed animals, you may want to beware because there might be an unexpected guest on your bedroom adventure. Furries. This is different from the plushie fetish, which is a turn on from stuffed animals. Furries are turned on by people who are dressed in full-on animal costumes. Crush fetish. If the sound of crushing eggs and other objects makes you feel all hot and bothered, then you could very well have a crushing fetish. The porn industry has made millions from making videos of pretty women crushing things such as food and other objects like toys and electronics. Mechanophilia. We finally have a term for men and their obsession with their bikes and cars. Mechanophilia is when someone has a sexual attraction to machines such as cars. Also, in an age where machines are quickly taking over personal roles, we imagine that this fetish will only grow within the next century. Claustrophilia. It's the opposite of claustrophobia, where people can be sexually aroused by tight places. And no, we don't just mean a woman's nether regions. People who are into claustrophilia will typically spend time in a small space, like a box, coffin, attic, or basement. After that, who knows what they're up to? We can imagine they enjoy the movie Buried as well. Worming. This fetish isn't all that it seems, as it doesn't involve worms in the first place. Worming is a fetish where a person gets sexual pleasure from licking someone else's eyeball. It's hard to tell whether someone would be into this weird sexual fetish, but if they are getting in your face often with their tongue sticking out at you, you might want to shut those eyes tightly. Formatophilia. If you're afraid or skittish of small bugs crawling on you, then
Pause, take a breath and go through your. I'm Master Man, now hit the.
You have more important things to do, so we'll meet you at the car with Applebee's Carside to Go. Download our new app now and save $5 on your first order.
10 weird facts about orgasms. Number 10. Persistent genital arousal disorder. This rare disorder leaves some women in a constant state of arousal, leading to over 100 orgasms every day. Triggers are often sudden and unpredictable, and while the orgasm provides temporary relief, arousal returns shortly after, preventing concentration on day-to-day tasks. 47-year-old Kim Ramsey, who suffers from the condition, gained exposure recently for speaking out about PGAD. She stated that her orgasms are often triggered by the slightest of movements, such as standing near loud vibrating speakers or wearing stilettos. Number 9. Medical orgasms. In the 19th century, 75% of women were plagued with an illness that caused anxiety and irritability. The supposed illness was formerly recognized as hysteria, but today would simply be diagnosed as sexual frustration. Because sexual arousal was condemned in Victorian society, the condition was deemed medical rather than sexual, and so patients could seek treatment. This involved medical professionals giving patients a manual genital massage until they reached orgasm. Many doctors complained that it was